Hello. I know, I've been talking on here quite a bit, uh, but I have things to report. Um, this is now 300 hours since the last time I had any Xanax. I'm still keeping my volume intake low. Yesterday I had to do some things around the house because I don't have anybody to help me. And my leg hurt really bad, so I took one of those gabapentin. And if you mix that with 10 milligrams of Valium, I shouldn't tell people this maybe because they'll say, "Oh, I want to try that." I got high as shit, and some it's like truth serum or something. But let me put this in a way that can protect people. Um, I was talking to someone that I'm frustrated with, and I'll leave the reasons why I'm frustrated with them aside. But I didn't attack them directly because I don't do that. That's not productive to like just um, front certain people out. It works for certain people to say, "Look, you're being an asshole. Blah 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 blah. This you." I mean, like some kind of football coach or something. Some people respond to that. Some people do not respond to that sort of thing. So this was a person that I know that wouldn't respond well to that sort of in your face type of thing. But since I wasn't expecting them to call, and I was high as shit on the mixture of gabapentin, which is non-narcotic, but if you mix it with muscle relaxant and anti-anxiety pill like Valium, something happens. You get, yeah, you get weird. But I was in a lot of pain, and I was like, I said I wasn't going to take any more of those. But the whole point of this, me talking on here, is to be honest, and I did. And then, I've been struggling, of course, and I made that big speech about quoting Ernest Hemingway and saying, a man can be destroyed, but he cannot be defeated. And then I get all high, and I get this unexpected phone call, and I start getting suicidal ideation, I believe it's called. This is 300 hours out from the last Xanax I had. And I start, expressing the fact that, running through my list of physical woes, how, difficult it is, how I can't walk, I can't take care of myself right. I can't even count on people who I pay money to pick up a few things around my house that are supposed to be my friends, to even like get a hold of me or make good on the money, to take the money. And how I have to, pay people, you know, it's just easier just to pay people that I know that are supposed to be my friends to do things for me. And sometimes they don't do things for me. So, I'm talking about this stuff, and then I'm talking about CRPS and the pain that I'm in and how my legs all screwed up. And, it's like the mixture of gabapentin and Valium was like truth serum. And except for I didn't front him out specifically. Um, but I mentioned how like I've had enough. I'm like if they can't fix my leg, I think I'm done. I don't think I have anything left, you know, because I have CRPS from like here down. I've had my heart shocked 5 times. At any moment, I could be in the hospital. At any moment, I could be dead. I got that hanging over my head all the time. And like the night before, I was actually reading my book, which I was trying to do this morning, and I reading this chapter that I had read like dozens of times. It's just a hard chapter for me to read. And I was getting right to the end of it, and I got arrhythmia. And I'm like, fuck you, arrhythmia. And I kept reading, you know, and the arrhythmia wouldn't go away. And finally, I screwed up because I was a little bit distracted by the arrhythmia, and I just quit and threw the book. And I was right at the end of the chapter, too. And that happened the night before. And I was like, man, I can't even read a fucking book. You know, I can't pick up my house. I can't walk around. I started getting all the negative stuff, and then the suicidal ideation thing that happens with benzos crept in. And I expressed that to this person. It's like, you know, if they don't fix my leg, man, I don't know how much fight I have left in me. I made that big speech about how I can't be defeated and all that, you know. But like in the movie Cool Hand Luke that I referenced, anybody can be broken. Anybody's will can be broken by enough suffering and hopelessness, and that constant threat, though, by the heart, man, that is the thing. It's like you just be sitting there, and then you can feel your heart fucking up. And it's not like something that's in my head or anxiety like I've expressed before. It's like I was in an ambulance outside, and they're telling me I have anxiety and shit, and I'm like, just shut the fuck up and put me on an EKG. And they did. I didn't say shut the fuck up, but I more or less said that in polite terms. And they put me on EKG, and they're like, oh yeah, you got arrhythmia, we got to get you to a hospital. Because they were thinking I had anxiety, and they were just telling me to calm down. My pulse was 203, and they thought I was anxious. And they're actually telling me to try to take a shit, because if you bear down like you're trying to take a shit, it presses on a certain nerve that slows your heart rate. And I want to say vagus nerve for some reason, you know. But I was like, man, shut up. I know what's going on here, you know. I know you guys. I'm so frustrated with doctors and medical people. It's like I've had so much experience, and I know my body, and I know what's going on. Quit arguing with me. You know, quit giving me tests that are telling me that I don't have something. You know, like that bone scan telling me that I don't have CRPS. And I don't, you know, I just what my I it's a CRPS is a disease that affects your limbs. I'm sorry for the hoarse throat. I was trying to read earlier, but I had to give up. But the way your nervous system arranged is in something called bilateral symmetry. So you have like a left side and a right side to it, and my CRPS is heavily left side. At one time, my right leg was so good that I could stand on my toes, and you know, I could kick down a door with that leg. It was that strong. But sometimes it spreads from one extremity to another extremity, and it spreads and it gets worse, and it goes through stages. But anyway, the point being is, like, I got these doctors telling me that I don't have diseases now that I've had other doctors tell me that I've had for years and years. And they're giving me medicines like gabapentin that they gave me 3 years ago that don't really work. And I just took one last night because I had to do a little bit of housework, and it put me in so much pain that I just couldn't take the pain. And I knew what would happen. And I was like, you know, now's the time. It's like there's no point in me laying here suffering like this when I don't have to. I'll take one, just one, because they come in 300 milligram capsules, the gabapentin. And the guy's like, well, if 300 doesn't work, we'll try 600, and then we'll try 900. We can try as high as 1200, which is 4 times the dose I took last night. And so yeah, I got pretty fucked up. But the point being about the frustration with doctors and how they don't listen, and how I can't seem to get anything done with doctors. I've had this bad leg for years and years, and they've done nothing about it, you know. And my orthopedics appointment for my leg is the 25th. And I'm going to crawl in there, you know, I make that promise to myself. Ain't no bravado talk there, because if I can get that leg fixed, that leg is priority number 1. I got to get that leg fixed. So if I can make it in there, if I have to crawl in there, I'm gonna crawl in there. I'll go in there on a walker. I'm literally gonna go in there on a walker, so they take the shit serious, and I'm not leaving until they tell me that they're gonna do something, not treat the symptoms, not shoot me up with cortisone or give me steroids, but do something to fix that. Because I need that walking around. You, you people that are listening to this, you know what withdrawal is, you know about benzos, you know about all that shit. So just imagine being immobilized and not being able to do anything. Some of you don't have to imagine that. Some of you are maybe in that state right now. But I'm in that state now all the goddamn time. And it's getting to me. And, I'm just stuck in the house. And I don't have people I can rely on. And, I have people, but they also have that situation going on with my aunt where she keeps dying and then getting better. I mean, she said she was going to die. And, like, everybody showed up there expecting her to die. And I guess she just did this, just because, gallows humor or to cheer people up. But she was like, what the hell are all you people doing here anyway? Do you think I'm going to die or something? But she had told one person that she might die, and they had told other people, like, this might be it for her. So she was in intensive care, and they all, a whole bunch of people came there because she knows a lot of people. And anyways, they got that going on. I mean, I could call, like, her son, and her son would help me out. It helps if I grease the wheels a little bit with a little bit of cash here and there. But he would help me out. He would get me out of the house and stuff. But I can't do that because he's got his own thing going on. I mean, through this whole experience with his mom, and he's been there for like almost through everything. Like, he's only missed like one visit in the nursing home. His hair and shit has turned white. It's like something you'd read in a book or a movie. Because it's been going on since September 16th. She's either been dying near death. It's just going on and on. So I was talking to this person last night, and I said, I don't understand that. I don't understand people's attitudes toward death. It's like, it's almost like selfish. It's like, if people want to go, let them go. If it's their time. I'm a big supporter of Dr. Kevorkian. It's like, this person is probably going to go through all this suffering that she's been, horrible, humiliating suffering that she's been going through, all to get well enough to get that she has to get open heart surgery anyway, which is probably going to kill her because she's got so many other physical problems. She's probably not going to survive that anyway. So what is the point of all this unnecessary suffering? And I saw my mother suffer for a brief time for circumstances that me being there was for a brief time because of a situation I can't go into. But I was there with her towards the end, and it was nothing but suffering for her for I don't know how many months. But that had been going on for years. And what's the point of that? What is the point of that? Once you reach that point where there's nothing left for you but a long, slow, suffering, lingering death, what is the point of staying alive for that? Like with me, I've got pain and stuff like that, but I still derive enjoyment from life. And right now, I just don't enjoy it because my leg is messed up and I can't move and I can't take care of myself, and I live alone, and I don't feel comfortable depending on people. And even the people that I'm paying to help me out, I don't even hear from them. So I talked to my landlord, and my landlord promised me three things. He promised me he'd fix this hole in my wall that's 8 foot tall. It's been there for 2 months. He said he'd fix the porch light because it's so dark out there that I came up on the porch one night and I couldn't tell if the person standing on the porch was not only friend or foe, I couldn't even tell if they were male or female. It's so dark out there because the street lights are burnt out. I mean, I was afraid, this was a while ago, running the bike up the ramp, I was afraid that I wouldn't even be able to catch the ramp right. It was just so dark, So I said, a couple of times, and he swore that he was going to fix the porch light. Then I said, well, who's been doing your cleaning for you? Because you own several properties, and every time somebody moves, you got to clean the place out. And I said, is it still Bootsy? Because I don't want, me and her are done, so I don't want nothing to do with her. And he says, no, I fired her. And I got this other guy. And I said, he works for $15 an hour. And I'm like, shoot, man, he deserves hazard pay for cleaning up my bathroom. I'd pay him $30 or $40 just to clean up the bathroom. And because I can't do it with this leg. And he's like, well, I'll make sure and give him your number. Nothing. What am I going to do? I guess I could keep bothering him. But I got so many other things to worry about, And the whole situation is just so difficult, with the lack of people I can count on, the physical suffering, 300 hours now with no Xanax, and a Valium. It helps with the withdrawal, but it's not a substitute. I don't give a damn what anybody says about, it's the same effect and all this crap. It's not you can't just substitute one for the other. It just, it helps because it's doing the same thing. Maybe if I took like ridiculous amounts of volume, it would do this because there's, volume is 10 times weaker than Xanax. So maybe if I took like, say, we'll do it in ones. Say I have a 1 milligram pill. I can't even think straight. I don't know. Whatever the 10 times thing is. Like I know that 5 milligrams of Valium is equal to a quarter of Xanax. I know that. So I guess it would be 4 times 5. So if I took 20 milligrams at a pop or something of Valium, maybe it would do the same thing as Xanax. I don't know, but I don't want to do that because I'm just replacing one benzo for another, So I'm trying to get off of benzos, so I don't want to do that. So I'm going to be experiencing some Xanax withdrawal and hopefully the suicidal ideations and the ideas that is expressed while under the truth serum of gabapentin / Valium last night, I just told him the truth. Is like, if I get to the point where I'm in a wheelchair and I can't take care of myself and I get no joy and no pleasure out of life and I can't even fucking read a book, what use am I to people telling my stupid little stories on here? What good would I have to say if all I'm doing is suffering? If all I can tell you about is like badness, like, what am I? Do you think anybody can remain with CRPS from here down is going to remain cheerful and useful to the world if they're stuck in a wheelchair and they're in constant pain and wearing a diaper and all the rest of the crap that could come with this? And and I had already seen so many people head down that road, So like I told this person last night, I'm like I'm not going through that. I've already gone through that stuff, really. When I had my surgeries, I had to learn how to walk. I had to learn how to control my bowels. I had to learn everything all over again. I've already been through all that crap. It's like, why should I go through it for no fucking reason? When I was young, there was a reason. But now that I'm old and my CRPS seems to be creeping up, it seems to be getting worse and it seems to be creeping up into my heart and affecting my heart. And I'm living like every moment, just waiting for that, my heart to go out of rhythm and for my whole life to be disrupted and thrown into a hospital. Like when I threw that book last night, or rather the night before, and said, okay, let's see what happens now. And then I just breathed, and then it popped back into rhythm. But think about that. Do like 1,001, 1,002, 1,003. You know how long that is. I'm talking it was 30 seconds until my heart went back into rhythm by itself. And usually that's long. Usually it's like 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,004, 1,005, and then it pops back into rhythm. But I can feel it going put 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 put. I can feel it beating weird, but this was like for 30 seconds. So, I throw the book and I'm thinking I'm going to be in the hospital. I said, if, going to lie here, I'm going to breathe and I'm going to relax and maybe it'll pop back into rhythm by itself. And it did. But I'm waiting on that like every damn second. I'm just sitting there waiting for that to happen. And I think it's CRPS related myself. I mean, I don't know. But one of the first things I did this morning was I have a heart doctor appointment at on the 18th. This is the 16th, and they called and they were like, "Well, if you don't cancel in time, we have a $25 penalty fee. Blah blah blah. Whatever, whatever. You have an appointment." And they reminded me when my appointment was and shit. And I already planned last night to cancel it because all they're gonna do is they're gonna go in there and they're gonna put me through a bunch of shit, and nothing is gonna get accomplished. Nothing will get accomplished. It'll just be more aggravation for me. It'll be more of me walking around in the snow on a walker, risking my ass. The last time I went in there, I actually knew the entire appointment ahead of time. I knew how it was going to be and how it was going to go down. And it went down, exactly like I knew it would. They talked to me, asked me some questions, and suggested I was put on a blood thinner or at least took baby aspirin to prevent strokes. And I said, well, I really don't need to do that because I can feel when it goes out of rhythm. Strokes occur when it goes out of rhythm and you don't know it, and clotting happens. And then the clotting gets in your vascular system. So there was the talk, there was the EKG monitoring, and of course I can feel when I'm out of rhythm, and of course my heart was in rhythm, and I said, well, your heart's good. Why in the fuck do I want to go in there for that? And, they'll just maybe like yell at me for not taking my Eliquis like that one broad did in pain management. And she said my pulse was 109. And she said, maybe that's because I aggravated you. And I don't like to I don't know. I just don't like to put unnecessary negativity out in the world like I'm doing now, as a matter of fact. But so I told her, no, it wasn't because you were aggravating me. It was probably just the walk back here. But really it was because she was aggravating me, because she's like, yeah, that's a good plan if you want to die, not taking your medication, not following your doctor's orders. I'm like, I felt like saying, look at my body, look at the way I'm walking. This is a result of taking my doctor's orders, Um, I was actually healthier. I'm not recommending that people don't go see the doctor for checkups to, make sure that they have things are okay and all that stuff. But I was in much better health when I didn't go to the doctor. And then, through emotional tragedies that I can't go into, and emotional strain and stress, and the way my disease is hooked into that, the autonomic nervous system is hooked into your emotions, it started to make my disease worse. In other words, the bad things that were happening in my life were killing me. And I think I mentioned this before, that maybe I didn't, I don't know. But my heart was literally broken. And I had fallen in love with a woman for the first time in my life. And it was an interest. I had never felt anything like that before, because I knew it was like some kind of weird thing that people talk about, where, because I was excited to be around her and calm at the same time, and I could talk to her, and she was interesting, and she was like, she wasn't what you would call extremely beautiful or anything like that, but she was my type. I like dark hair. And, physically she was my type, but it wasn't really about any of that. It was something on some sort of spiritual level or something like that. You know, it was something I had never experienced before, like being calm and excited around a woman, like I'd like to sleep with her and then talk to her for days, type of thing. And yeah, I screwed it up, and then I had something happen that was really bad that I can't talk about, that like ruined that. And that was 2003, right around the Iraq War. And then forget that was probably when I was 35, but like when I was 36 is when I had my first bout of arrhythmia. And so my heart literally got broken. That's the way I look at it anyway. So I didn't have any problems before then. And I noticed that, like, after that happened, where I had fallen in love, and then the horrible thing happened, I noticed that I had, like, my CRPS symptoms got really bad. The whole way I walked changed. Like, I used to walk like a normal person. In other words, like, my carriage was straight, my shoulders were back. Uh, I used my legs in a proper fashion, but then I started to get pain in one of my thighs that I didn't have before on my left leg, because it's left side oriented disease. So I started walking more in a bent forward type of way to compensate for the pain in my leg. Now there's this other book, because I love quoting literature, that is a horrible movie, but a very underrated book. It's probably my favorite Stephen King book. It's called Thinner. But it has this expression where the old gypsy guy says, "You used to be strong, but now your shoulders have been broken." And that's how it was. I used to be strong, and then that happened, and then my shoulders were broken. I wasn't the same guy. I wasn't the guy walking down the street with his shoulders back and his head high. You know, I wasn't the same guy that was young. I was heartbroken, and then my heart actually messed up as a physical manifestation of the emotional thing that I went through. And I guess I could have put more effort into going back and maybe seeing if she would understand the whole situation, but I didn't, because of the nature of it. And I went back in a couple of times, but I just left it alone. I was like, I had the feeling like that she was better off without me, because there's something about having an incurable disease that people don't think about, is like that anybody that you get hooked up with, anybody that loves you, they have to suffer with you. And in a sense, um, um, a loving relationship like that is actually cruel. Now, another way to look at that is it could have been like a healing experience for me, and my shoulders wouldn't have been broken. And, it would have been a wonderful thing for me. But the disease would remain incurable. They still haven't figured out how to cure it. But I was coping with it at the time. I believe there's 3 stages to it. Now, I believe I was in stage 1 at the time. And I could still do many things. I couldn't run. I couldn't drive a car with my feet. I probably could have drove a car with my hands at that time, but I've tried with my feet, and I have stories about that that I will tell at a later time that are sort of interesting. Sort of Dukes of Hazzard interesting. Shut the fuck up, phone. God damn it. And I should have just pulled the battery on it. But anyways, that's something people don't think about when somebody has an incurable disease, is that love can become cruelty. You get somebody attached to you, you get somebody that has affection for you, and you get somebody that loves you. And, you know, I think biblically it says the two become one. The two become one flesh, and they would have to suffer with me. If I'm headed toward this, if I would have been headed toward this anyway, which there's no telling. I might have held in stage one and been that person that she found interesting, because I know she liked me. I know very well, I could feel it. I know it was mutual. And I shouldn't even talk about that. Why I gotta think about these things early in the morning, I don't know. I wake up and I think about these things early in the morning. Like, what kind of way is that to start out your morning where you're almost crying and stuff? And but yeah, that was the only time I'd ever fallen in love. And ever since 2003, it's just been like this for me, steady down. And I think that what happened actually knocked my disease into the second stage. And I notice that every time something horrible, emotional happens to me, that I have a physical reaction to it. And what could be more horrible than to go through what I went through as a teenager, when I was supposed to be learning about, finding out about sex and finding out about relationships and stuff, and then just kind of like saving myself for someone that, that I actually had those kind of feelings for. Because I was a virgin at 35. You want honesty? There's honesty. Because I had been through, I had met girls, and, I actually lay in bed with one, and I said, well, let's see if I can get one to go to bed with me. This was really cruel on my part. But I got her to go to bed with me, and I took her hand and I put it on my dick, and I was wearing like bicycle shorts or something like that, and I was like, not bad for a white boy, eh? Because like I said, I had the shame like whipped out of me at a very early age, and she's like, not bad at all. And then she started breathing like like she got all hot and bothered and stuff, and like I was just too wise at too young of an age, and I was like, you know what? If I have sex with this girl, I'm not going to be able to get rid of her. We're not compatible. It's just going to be mean. It's just going to be cruel to her, because we're not really compatible. She likes talking to me because she finds me interesting, but the it's just like, she was young too. I don't know how old I was, but she was a lot younger than me in two different ways: age, and the more important way, life experience. So she got all hot and bothered, and I pretended like I fell asleep. That's so cruel. Not to be crude or nothing, but uh, her pussy was probably soaked, and you know, that's how I could hear her. Like, she was like breathing, like she thought she was gonna get some. And then I just like laid my head on her shoulder and just like went to sleep, and then she calmed herself down, And then in the morning, her friend picked her up, and I think we drank coffee together and talked. And as cruel and as self-serving as that was, uh, it would have been crueler to sleep with her. And I can see down the road, like with women and with people. I can see down the road, and I could see where things are headed. And it's like it was headed nowhere good. If I had deflowered myself and had sex with this girl, it was headed nowhere good. You know, it was just going to be cruel to her. She was whatever it is that makes sustaining relationships, it just wasn't there. So why put either of us through that? So I would meet women from time to time, and I would just see down the road that it would be like, there's no point to this, you know. And since I spent like all the way from the age of 14 is when I had my first spinal tumor symptoms, and then I found out for sure that I had this CRPS crap when I was around 20 years old, and then I spent a large part of my 20s like just confused and trying to recover from my childhood, and then I got to be like about 25. And then like around 30, I started to feel the call of nature, you know, and I started like looking to find a woman because I had discovered that I could write. You know, I was like, I'm a good writer. I'm like, I might not be a great writer. I mean, that's for other people to decide, but I can write, you know, and I'm like, I can do this for a living. I said, I know I can do this for a living. And then I'm like, you know, well, that's something I can offer a woman besides a crippling disease, is like, I can offer that to a woman. I can offer myself, and I can offer um, uh, financial security. You know, I'd have to weed out the gold diggers and stuff. You know, but really, if they got in with me on the ground floor and they saw my potential and was with me, they wouldn't be gold diggers. You know, and that's part of the reasons why I never tried to get published and whatnot. Is because I don't really care about money. I don't. It's probably a stupid and naive way to go through life, but I just don't care about money if I have enough to get by. I mean, I don't think money just makes life easier. It's not going to solve your problems. It's not going to sort out your existential dilemmas. It's not going to help you figure out God. It's not. It's going to more money, more problems. You know, it's actually can get in the way a lot of times. And it also, as far as relationships, you don't know if they're going after you. They like you because you got that fat wallet, or they like you. So, you know, that's when I really started, like, I was like, I found myself. I was like, this is what I was meant to do. I was meant to write. So I spent like 4 years like a monk. One of those years, I had no TV at all. No TV. I wrote. It was my job. I did it every day. I did it every day for 4 years. And I had a system worked out. Briefly, my system was I would get up in the morning, I would eat a little bit, I would drink a little bit, I'd get fully awake, and I put out headphones and blast music and lock out the outside world and sit at my board, I would call it, with my feet propped up on a stump that I carried on my back and stole from a neighbor because I was a strong kid. And CRPS or no CRPS, I stole somebody's stump out of their log pile because I was like, that would make a perfect footstool. So I'd prop my feet up on that wooden footstool, and I'd put that board across my lap, and I would write. And then the next day is when I would edit and punch it into the computer. And I didn't have the internet either. No internet, nothing. That was my job. That's what I did. That's what I wrote. I did that for 4 years, maybe 5, from 1997 or 98 to 2001 is when I quit. And when I quit, I just kind of got burnt out, and I wasn't finding enjoying it. I had already proved to myself that I could do it, and I'm like, well, now I should find a woman, you know, It's like, no, I should find a woman. I should find someone to share my life with. And like now, like I'm not just a guy. I'm not just a cripple. It's like I got something here. I'm a writer. I got an identity. Because I never understood that. But I've talked about this before. It's like it's not enough to be a good human being in this world for some reason. I found out that people were dismissive of me once they found out I was living on disability. I was nobody. I was nothing. It didn't matter how interesting I was or how intelligent I was or the things that I said. Once they found out I didn't have a real job and I wasn't somebody in the world, I didn't matter. So, anyways, so yeah. So, I kept myself that way. I kept myself a virgin. And I will post a picture of what I used to look like when I was young, which I've done before, at like as a thumbnail on this video. And you can see that I was not an ugly dude. That it would not have been hard for me to get laid at all. But this is the way I wanted to do it because I had been through so much torture, emotional, physical, every kind of torture you can imagine. It's like I wanted the real thing. I didn't want to just uh, get my nuts off. I just didn't want to follow my dick around. I wanted to feel that what I felt with that woman, where I felt something different. I felt something new, and I instinctively knew that this was a path I needed to follow. Like that this person liked me, and that I felt almost euphoric just talking to him, like just like that sense of calmness and being excited at the same time. And so I never gave a fuck about what people thought because I had been through so much. It's like, unless you've walked in my shoes, and I doubt you can handle that. I did not care. I had guy friends that were always trying to get me laid and shit, hooking me up with these dumb bitches. And then I'd have like guys dragging me out to bars and stuff. And it was it's like, no, you don't, I have my own deal going on. It's like, I wanted it to be a special thing, I wanted it to be like the real thing. I didn't want it to be just out of horniness. And believe me, as a young man, I was a very high sex drive and stuff like that. But I always, sublimated it, whatever that word is. I always put that sex drive into other things, like book learning, writing, um, lifting weights, exercise, and just other things. Waiting for that feeling, and then I got that feeling, and then just like the worst possible thing happened that ruined it all and broke my heart. And then I had actual heart trouble like within a year of that happening. I was 36. That's how old I was. I mean, I could sit here and do the math, but I'm almost crying now, so I don't want to do the math. But I could actually do the math. I was born in 1967, and I had my first heart episode when I was 36. So what's the math there? 2003. So yeah, it was shortly after my heart had got broken that I had my first bout of arrhythmia. And yeah, I can't tell you the full story because it affects other people. And and that thing that I talked about, other people have shame where shame doesn't belong, and I don't. And like I said, everybody knew that I had no. My sister, like, I think made fun of me over it, even. You know, and I didn't make fun of her over being a big whore, but like that's a better thing. But it seems kind of silly to do, because people are like, well, then your dick will trick you into thinking that it's love, and like you'll develop feelings of where they don't belong or whatever. But I had already been around women. I had already been in bed with a woman, and I already had like woman practically soaking my sheets and stuff. And so it wasn't about that. It was about finding somebody, and she was intelligent too. She didn't have uh, a high paying job, and you know I don't know what kind of, I didn't really know her. It was just like, it was weird because I barely knew that much about her. I knew that she was age appropriate. Like, she was 38 and I was like 36, something like that. And but I knew that, yeah, this is for me. I just knew it, and I didn't really even know her. So maybe, that's how I console myself. Is I console myself by saying, well, I didn't really know this woman. I just had brief conversations with her. We never really talked about anything serious. But there's something deep inside you that knows things, and call it whatever you want. And, I felt what I felt, you know. And um, there was even like a cinematic moment where um, this thing happened, and I was talking to her, and she like ran away from me. So I know she had strong feelings about the whole thing too, because she just like ran. And that's the moment where I should have run after her and said, wait, wait, stop, please. You know. And I went back there a couple of times, just trying to run into her at her place of work. And um, I just didn't run into her. And I was like, well, I could leave like messages with her coworkers, and or like put out more effort. And then I got to thinking about it, and I was thinking about like um, what she would have had to deal with. And I was like, you know what? Maybe she's just better off without me. And my family history a little bit now. And but no, I got no shame about that at all. Like, I did that shit on purpose. Like, look at me. Imagine me with hair. How hard would it be for me to get laid? What great trick is there to that? I think if you add alcohol to the matter, and I've been in a few bars, and I remember having this one woman who, I had this weird experience in this bar where I was playing pool with this woman, and she was already a little bit drunk, and she was pretty good looking. And she got really mad at something I said, and she just slammed. I'm surprised I didn't throw her out of the bar, but she just slammed the pool cue down on the bar, and walked away from me. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, whatever. Then I was sitting back at the bar, and I was drinking, and I didn't even like um, I didn't even like see her. I just like felt her arm go around me, and she like put her arm around my waist, and it was just held me, and I'm like, you know. And then my older brother said, "Man, you fucked up last night, man. That was a sure piece of ass for you." And I'm like, you know what? I'm not the kind that, I didn't say that to him, but I was like, you know what? It's like I, fucking a drunk woman has no interest to me. Uh, so, I don't know why people are even ashamed of that. So I don't got no shame about that. Like, I did that shit on purpose. That was a conscious choice. It's like, well, I want it to be like a fucking earth-shattering event. I want the world to split in two when this happens, because of all the stuff that I went through. I want something to make all that pain worthwhile. And it was there for me, and I lost it. And have become a different person ever since. And why am I talking about this painful thing at 10:44 in the morning when I woke up at 8 in the morning and tried to read for an hour, and Stampy upstairs was running the water, which the mic was picking up, and she was stamping around quite a bit, which was distracting me while I was reading, which was helping me screw up. But I was like, yeah, fuck it. I was irritated. And then I had that stuff to report about the suicidal ideation that I had, and then me going back on my word about the gabapentin thing because of the pain that I was in, and now me canceling my heart appointment because I know that they're not going to do anything. What are they going to do? They're going to schedule me for a bunch of irritating tests and make me risk walking in the snow and hurting my leg. And I told the lady on the phone, like, I got a bad leg, and that's priority number one, and that's what I have to deal with right now. And that's what I'm focused on, is getting back to where I can walk and take care of myself, because I don't want to be taken care of by nobody. Because like I said, I paid people to take care of me, and I still don't get taken care of. I asked for help from people, and I still don't get help. And then the people that I can't ask for help are not in a position to help me right now. And I don't, my insurance has like this is care source, and I'm on this waiver program where I could get people to come in here, and I don't want to lose my independence. I don't want them to think like, well, this guy needs to be put in a nursing home. He's a danger to himself and all this. I don't want to give up my independence. I think I'd rather die than give up my independence and go through some kind of long, lingering, hideous death. And I could only imagine, having seen other people who don't have CRPS go through long, lingering deaths. I can't imagine what that would be like with CRPS, and that's part of the reason, it was an incurable disease, and it was part of the reason that I didn't pursue that woman that I was in love with, is because I got to thinking about it, and I was like, you know what, the circumstances involved in that are bad enough, and I don't even know if she knows that I have an incurable disease. We just had that weird thing between us that was unspoken, and it wasn't like love at first sight or nothing like that, because I had seen her many times and she had saw me many times. It was just we got around each other. Maybe it was like, if you have an aura, it was like an instinctual thing between the two of us, and she felt it and I felt it. And she had some kind of strong emotional thing going on. She might have been just looking for a piece of dick. I don't fucking know that for sure. But I know that she got so upset over what happened that she literally said, I'm going on break, after she was done talking to me. And she just ran. I mean, literally ran away from me. And it was like, cinematically, I would have ran after her and said, wait, and called her name, and said, I'm sorry about whatever happened, blah, 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 blah. And I didn't do that. I was just kind of paralyzed by the situation, and I couldn't run anyway. I mean, I would have ran. I guess I could have run a little bit, but I found out I couldn't run in Cleveland when a guy ran a red light, and I had all the incentive in the world to run, because his car is bearing down on me, and the best I could do was some kind of shuffle fast walk thing, and he almost hit me and killed me in Cleveland, Ohio, in the bad part of Cleveland. And there's many stories around that, of course. There's many, many stories in here. But that's the most painful one, is what could have been, and not knowing what could have been. And going through all that, and like saving myself. And not because I am a foul person verbally and mindedly. And I got a foul mind and a foul mouth. And so it wasn't about anything else but making all that stuff I went through from the ages of 14 to 20, whatever, worthwhile. It was about that. I was like, why in the hell do I want to from peer pressure, or just because I'm horny, and why would I want to just like miss the opportunity to have something real and to have it to be so profound and so powerful that it could actually make up for all that misery and horror that I went through, that I've described only partly on here, because you only know like 50, 60% of my story as far as the bad parts. There's much, much more badness. But like I said, I have to protect other people. And I hate when I wake up in the morning and think about those things, though. But I wanted to read my book, which I will finish my book. And it's not my book, it's Theodore Kazimirov's book. And don't let that like small size fool you, because the print is so tiny. I have to take off my glasses and put the book right up against my face. I'm also having trouble with the microphone because I don't know if it's picking up my breathing or not. I don't know how far away to put it. This is my first try of reading a book with one of these Blue Yeti microphones. So I don't know. Actually, I think it's probably better to put it farther away from me. But like when I used to watch the Howard Stern show and stuff like that, they were always like, put your face up close to the mic. So I would like, maybe we'll do an experiment here. I would put my face up like here, like when I would read, So let me just talk like that for a while. It's probably like really loud to you now, so I apologize for that. But I don't know if you can hear my breathing. Like let me say a long sentence. The snow falling outside cast a magenta glaze upon the outer reaches of the yard. And then a dog walked up, and the dog decided this was a perfect place to take a squat and deliver a tiny, small brown package on my yard. I don't know if you can hear me breathing in between that or not, but when I was listening back to some of my work, and I was like, I think I can hear myself breathing. That's kind of distracting. So this first book is sort of like an experiment. Hopefully it'll be listenable. But yeah, about the whole virginity thing and the stigmatization around it and all that, I could give two flying fucks about that. I've been violated in ways that are unimaginable to people. And by violated, I mean having your body torn open, um, uh, waking up to being catheterized, having uh, sensitivity tests done on me when I was 16, naked, getting poked in the testicles in front of women as the most naive, inexperienced 16-year-old you can imagine. And it's like, I went through all this stuff, and I was like, fuck all what people think about me. I'm doing my life my way. And I haven't met anyone like that since, where I felt that deep, deep thing that would, and I got this damn thing where I can see down the road. I guess it's from my degrees of alienation, where I can see down the road with people and I can see where things are headed. It's like I'll meet somebody and they might be attractive and interesting and intelligent, and but just because I know their personality, to me it's like an instinct thing. It's like something I felt in my gut. It's not even it's not in the heart. It's like you feel it in your gut, And I felt that around that woman, and I've never felt that around. That's the one person I felt that around, So I'm a sweet little virgin to this day, and I don't have no shame about that either, because fuck you, water rushing. I'm assuming you can hear that. I don't have any shame about that either, because I never. First of all I do is hear couples fight all the damn time. I don't fucking need that. Second of all, if I'm not feeling that feeling in my gut, that connection with a person, fuck all that. The most important thing is I've got this disease now that since 2003, when I first fell in love and had my heart broken and that terrible thing happened, my health has gone like this. So if I am going in a mine shaft in one of those coal cars going down toward nothing, I'm not asking anybody to hop on board with that with me. So if I have to die chaste, celibate, whatever the fuck you want to call it, I don't care. And I don't care that you know that either. I don't care, because you just don't know what I've been through, and you can't know it. Just the same way that I can't know what you've been through and what your life's been like. But yeah, people don't think about that because they're selfish. They don't think about, they just want their needs met. So they don't think about the other person. They don't think like, you're asking this person to take a boat ride through hell. Because I've watched people that I've loved suffer, and I've watched people that I've loved die. And to do that to somebody else, I ain't doing that. Yeah. I'm not crying either. I'm not doing that either, because if I cry, it's not going to help. It's going to make my symptoms worse. And I've explained that many times, how the CRPS is connected to my emotions. I had more to say about that. And maybe it'll come to me in a minute. But yeah, all that big talk about not being able to be defeated. And then I'm talking suicidal ideation, where like if they can't fix my leg, then I don't think I have anything more left. I just don't have any more fight. And I just can't. No nursing home, no nothing like that. I got the exit strategy. And I'm a firm believer in the Dr. Kevorkian theory that needless, pointless suffering is needless, pointless suffering. And it's just selfish for people to keep people around who are clearly have no quality of life and are just suffering and just miserable every second of every fucking day, and there's no hope for any improvement or any recovery. And all they can do, like, imagine me with my level of intelligence and my level of articulation, just doped up just to get through the day, just like a vegetable, just doped up. What a fucking waste. I think it's a fucking waste now, as a matter of fact, that my body is so messed up that it impairs my mental thinking and my intellectual abilities. Because if you do any research on CRPS and the amount of pain involved, it's unbelievable. Another thing that might be hard for people to understand or relate to is that's hypersensitivity from here down is at a level where I don't want touched. I don't get simple human affection. I mean, occasionally I'll hug people, and I have to wear a ace bandage wrapped tightly around my stomach just to hug people. So, at the time in 2003, it wasn't that bad, and there's ways you can work around that kind of stuff. Cowgirl, spoon, there's ways you can be very inventive, and women can be very understanding. And there's other ways to please women that don't involve. So, But now things are different. And I'll tell you a story that I don't know how I feel about, but I can't I can't do the whole story justice, but I'll just tell you the main part that's relevant to what I'm talking about now. Is I had cut my leg, and I had cut my leg very badly, and I had gotten it stitched up, and a nurse, not even a particularly attractive one, it wasn't anything about that, but just a nurse, was talking to me, and she was removing the IV out of my arm because they were going to send me home. They had my leg stitched up, and they were positive that I had enough blood left in my body that I would be okay. They just said, just take it easy and lay around and drink a lot of orange juice and maybe eat some cookies, like a blood transfusion type of deal. But anyways, this woman was pulling this IV out of my arm, and just, she was just rubbing my arm like reassuringly and rubbing my shoulder, and it was just skin on skin contact. And I actually like messed it up over it, like felt emotion over it. And then, I was like, man, you are a sorry son of a bitch to myself. It's like, because I don't get physical contact. Just the idea that she didn't have to do that she just did that as one human being to another, just to touch me and rub my shoulder and give me that human comfort that I don't get because of the way my body is ruined. And yeah, some life. Yeah, I suppose after all that, you allow me a drink of coffee, and I have exactly half a sip left in the cup. My cool Cleveland Browns mug. But yeah, how does one survive? It's like if you we're primates. If you watch anything about our closest relatives as primates, they're all about touching and physical reassurance. And if you in other cultures, they're all touchy feely, which is always a weird thing to me when I run into someone that's from another culture, and they're all about hand on the shoulder when they talk to you, and you know like even like holding your hand or touching your arm and all that. It's like that's a big deal to people, and I don't get touched in any kind of way. I just don't get touched. you know so um other people, I should specify, other people don't do that, even though Valium has killed my, this whole um 300 hours plus that I've been off of Xanax. It's like I've had no desire to do the old five-fingered relaxation technique or anything like that. It's just I've had no sex drive at all. And yeah, and so anyways, the point being is I don't get that physical contact, and that experience that I had. You think the emotional part of that experience would be cutting my leg so badly that when I walk into the ER, they don't even ask my name. There's so much blood all over me, and I had rigged up a bandage out of a towel and duct tape over the cut, and it had slipped, and a lot of the blood was just pouring down my leg. I didn't cut an artery, I just cut a whole bunch of major veins, or I'd be dead. But they took one look at me, and they didn't even ask me my name. They thought I was near death because I'm white already, and I had lost all that blood, and I had just blood all over me. So they just threw me in a chair and didn't ask me my name. And this guy took out this pair of scissors and started cutting off my pants. And he said, "It's okay if I cut off your pants, right?" And I said, "Well, you're about halfway through, so I guess it's okay." And me being me and having been through the things that I've been through, I'm like, well, this is an interesting experience. There was no hysterics involved at all. I was just going through another thing. This happened when I was, I don't know, 28 maybe. I don't know. And so they cut my pants off, and they're like, "Who made this bandage?" And I'm like, "I did." And he was like, "Carl, come look at this." And he was like half laughing because they're hardened too. I've seen shit like this all the time. I said, "Look what this guy did." And I had like a towel, like a hand towel that was put on the wound, and then I just took duct tape, and that old duct tape fixes a lot of shit. And I just duct taped my leg up with a duct tape bandage. But unfortunately for me, and I had told this story somewhere else, the bandage had slipped, and I lost a whole bunch of blood without me knowing it. The bandage, it wouldn't stop bleeding on its own. It just wouldn't stop bleeding. But I had put that compression bandage on it that I made out of duct tape, but after moving around and walking around and stuff, it had slipped, and I didn't know it, and was sitting in a pool of blood. And then I was like, "Take me to the ER now, please." And so anyways, he was laughing over the bandage that I made and stuff. And but I was like, "Well, my insurance is," and they're like, "Honey, forget about all that. Like, we're going to deal with this now. Forget it. Just don't, this is America. This isn't Canadian socialized medicine either. They usually want to know about, can you pay for this? How are you going to pay for what's going to happen?" But she was like, "Honey, just don't think about that now. Just let us take care of this." So, they took off they threw me in that wheelchair, and they cut the pants off, and they took an initial look at it, and they wheeled me into a triage room. And they took the bandage off, and they snipped off my duct tape and whatnot, and it was bleeding, and they put more compression on it, and then I guess they got something like an anticoagulant or something that they put in it to stop the bleeding. And that part of that story is funny, where they were putting an IV into me to add fluids, and the person that was doing it was a novice, I guess, and was new at it, and they didn't cap the IV. So they put the IV in my arm, and then this blood started squirting all over the place, and started squirting on me and squirting on, and the attending physician came in there, and it's like, I'll make up a name, "Roslyn, what the hell are you doing? Don't you think this guy's lost enough blood? Cap that thing." So anyways, so I was laughing about that, me being me. I was I thought that was funny as hell. But later in the story, when the person took that IV out of my arm, why I keep pointing at this arm, I don't know. Maybe that's where the IV was. I don't know. Yeah, that's probably where it was. It's because I remember her rubbing this shoulder. That's the part that's the part of that whole story that I remember the most, is not cutting my leg, not almost bleeding to death, not getting stopped by the police on the way to there because our car matched the description, involved in a violent crime, and my dad talking his way out of it and not getting me out of the car because there was blood everywhere. I was actually sitting on newspapers in the car to make sure that I wouldn't get blood in his car, even though my bandage was working pretty good at that point because I had repositioned it. And I wasn't bleeding quite as bad, but I had blood all over my pants and everything. And I was like, "Well, we'll put down some newspapers." But the cop talked to him, and it was dark out, and he asked my dad to get out of the car, and I was like, "Please, please, please, don't ask me to get out of the car because I might be dead. They might I might either be in jail or be dead because I might be bleeding to death here." So, anyways, that part of the story is none of that's interesting to me, or not. All of it's pretty interesting, but I mean, none of it stuck with me more than that woman, for no apparent reason other than basic human decency, just rubbing my arm and caressing my shoulder, to reassure me. And this was after everything was over, and me being been through what I have been through, spinal reconstruction and all that shit. Talk about an unnecessary gesture, but she didn't have to. She could have just pulled the IV and didn't have to do that extra thing where she touched me, and just that actually affected me emotionally. I'm like, "Man, you are one sorry son of a bitch." To myself, I was like, to get emotional over that. You know, that woman was actually touched you in a way that she didn't have to. And it's just something that I guess a decent, caring human being would do, you know, trying to reassure a person that had been through something traumatic, that a person who actually thought it was funny while they were going through it. Man, once you've been sliced open and had metal rods put out of you and had your ribs pulled out, been through CRPS and shit, man, that shit's all funny. Even when you're going through it, it's funny, man. I laughed like a motherfucker when that attending physician came in and was like, "Put a cap on that thing. Don't you think he's lost enough blood?" You know, I started laughing, and you know, I told the guy, I was like, "Look, it's all numb." I was like, "You don't have to shoot me up with any numbing agent, you know, to stitch me up." And he's like, didn't believe me, you know, and so he stitched me up. And but he shot me up with a bunch of numbing agent first before he did it, because he thought I was, you know, he thought I was just trying to be a tough guy or nothing. But no, I'm not really a tough guy. I just was like, it's numb. I can't feel anything, because when you do enough damage to your body, your brain has some kind of defensive mechanism where it just shuts off those nerves, which I found out a couple of times in a couple of different ways. Like one time I had a really bad bicycle accident where I fell with full impact on concrete on this arm, to the point where I had like it was like a swelling like this size, but I didn't feel any pain. But I knew when those nerves woke up, it was going to hurt like a bitch. And I was going fishing at the time on a bicycle, and I'm like, I'm going fishing regardless. I don't care. So I fished for a while, and those nerves woke up, and then I was like, nope, time to go home. I don't want to fish anymore. So anyways, I knew that those nerves would wake up and feel bad later. But at the time, it was already numb. I was like, well, don't bother shooting it up. Just stitch it up. You know, he thought I was trying to be John Wayne or some shit. And the thing that pissed me off about that was they stitched me up, and then they told me to take Tylenol for it. You know, they're worried about me bleeding to death. And, you know, uh, asking me all the time, it's like, telling me like, you really look pale. How much? They kept asking me, how much blood do you think you lost? How much blood do you think you lost? And I'm like, look, I'm German and Irish, which I found out later that I'm actually just German. I always thought I was German and Irish, but I'm just German. The thing with the leg is like, they told me that just take some Tylenol, because I asked for pain medication, because I've had so much experience. I know that when your nerves go dead like that, it's because you've been hurt real bad, and when they wake up, you are gonna hurt like a motherfucker. So they told me to take Tylenol, and I was like, oh fuck, because I actually asked for pain medication. I was like, what are you gonna give me for pain for this? And they're like, just take some Tylenol. And I was like, oh fuck, you know, because I knew what it was gonna be like. And sure enough, you know, they stitched me up, and then in a few hours, the nerves got back online, and it was hurting like hell. I don't know if I had any marijuana at the time to smoke. I don't think I did. I don't think I had anything. I don't even think I had Tylenol. I think I was taking aspirin or something for it. I just was just suffering. And as an addendum to the story, I didn't have any food in my house. So I had just had this happen the day before. And I said, I called my dad up, you know, and I said, man, I don't have any food. Will you give me a ride to the grocery store? And I walked around in jeans. And while I was walking around the grocery store, I had done some damage or something to the stitching, and I just had this big spot of blood on my jeans. And I was like, well, I guess I bought enough food. And, you know, nobody commented on it or anything like that. But when I went out in the parking lot, there was a big spot of blood from where I had put too much pressure on the stitching. But I was really hungry, and I literally had no food in my house. And I should have just ordered a pizza. But, you know, just because I can be brilliant some of the time doesn't mean I'm smart all the time. But, yeah. Uh, the thing about that, though, that being touched thing is like, I don't get that. And that would be nice, you know. That would be nice. I still have parts of my body that, uh, um, what would you call it? That still don't hurt to be touched. the very limited. It's like from here up, it's like I don't have like a, pain. As far as the sexual thing, um, that's more of a mind thing. That's like a that's your main sexual organ is your mind. So I can still derive pleasure from that, even though my symptoms go from like here down. But just to have somebody laying in bed with me and then like have their arm around with me and you know have some kind of connection with them, just like if that woman that I fell in love with, say, I sure as hell wouldn't be wasting my time talking to y'all right now if I could lay in bed with her and have her arm around me. But yeah, this is some brutal stuff here. But all you have in this life is your story, and that's the lesson from The Last Algonquin and the story of Joe Two Trees. It's like you think you have things, you think you have this, you think you have that. What you have is the life you've lived and the story that you leave behind and the memory of you in other people's minds. That's what you have. You don't have anything else. So that's just part of my story. That's just how things worked out for me. Maybe I was a fool, doing that and not like just, I'll use a British term, banging a bunch of slags in my 20s and having a good time like all my buddies. And, but I look at them now and their lives ain't all that, believe me. And I remember going to bars and meeting women and having some of them sit on my lap and stuff. And I remember a missed opportunity with a girl that I felt no like connection to, but she was a nice girl. And she was from a town in Ohio called Salem. And I remember her telling me, asking her where she was from. And she said, we drove all the way here from Salem. And I was like, what's in Salem? And she says, nothing. That's why we drove all the way over here. And we have a lot of towns here in Ohio that, they're blinking towns. Like if you blink when you pass through them, you miss them. These little tiny towns. And anyway, she was sitting on my lap. And this was in a bar called The Machine that's closed down now. It's a shitty dive, man, but that was our bar. And it even had like duct tape on the bar stools and stuff, and it didn't last for all that long. It couldn't sustain itself. But they had some pretty big musical acts there. Like we went and saw actual Richie Blackmore. We actually saw Richie Blackmore perform there, and the guy who did Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. No, not Rick Derringer. Whoever the guy was who said does boom boom out goes the lights, whatever the guy's name is that did that. He was pretty cool because he had equipment problems, and he like to make up for the equipment problems that they were having with the sound engineering, he stayed and played an extra like half hour after they got it sorted out, and I think we left early while he was still playing because my friend was wearing white jeans and spilled a Jack and Coke all over himself. And it just looked like if it was in the back, it would look like he shit himself. But it was in the front, so it just did not look good. So, he wasn't meeting any women that night. So, I think we left early and the guy was still playing. Whoever does that boom, boom, out go, Rick Travers? Pat Travers is the guy's name. Anyways, I digressed way too much to keep back to my central point about all this. But no, we went to that bar and I met this girl from Salem and she was a gorgeous redhead and she was sitting on my lap and I wasn't getting a boner or anything like that. It wasn't anything like that. She was just sitting on my lap and we were playing pool and it was me and my friend with the white pants and the poor coordination versus her and her friend. The problem was her friend got sloppy drunk to where the girl that liked me, that was gorgeous and a redhead, had to drive her home because she was falling all over herself. And I didn't ask her for her number. I don't remember the circumstances of it. I knew she liked me. And I knew that I could have had her that night if I wanted to, her, and her friend wouldn't have got all sloppy drunk. And I remember how gorgeous she was, and it's like, that's how, there was no arguing that night over, uh, you know, I was like, you can have that other drunk, you can have the blonde, man. Yeah, there was no contest between the two for me. Another funny story about that bar is I'm sitting there, and the place is packed, and this girl comes walking to her, and I call her the cowgirl. And when I talk to my friend about it sometimes, but she was a huge girl. And I don't mean like huge fat. She was just a big farm girl, man. In other words, I wouldn't start a fight with her. She'd probably kick my ass. She was just a large person. But she was dressed, I call her the cowgirl because she was dressed in some kind of weird outfit where, you know how cows have that white pattern and then they have like black splotches? She had something on like that. And she came up to me and I was like, oh, Jesus, she's going to hit on me. And she was like, hey, I'm really interested in your friend. What's his name? And I want to go up and talk to him. And I was like, what the hell's wrong with me? It's like 1 minute I was like, no, 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 man, please don't come over here. And then I was like, huh, you prefer my friend over me? And then I was like, what the hell's wrong with me? And I was like, at one moment I'm dodging the bullet. At the next moment I'm wondering why the bullet isn't hitting me. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that was funny. But yeah, nah, I don't really care about, like I said, and I'm dead serious about it. Like I said, two things in this world should be ashamed of. And that's the things that you do, the evil things that hurt other people, and the things that you don't do that could help other people. It's within your power to do. So, in a way, the person that I fell in love with, that might have been an evil thing for me to get some kind of relationship and reciprocation going with her, because there's no telling whether this disease would have got worse or would have got better. There's no telling with CRPS. It's one of the most unpredictable, least understood diseases on the planet. I mean, at one point, one of the treatments for this disease was literally to put you in a ketamine coma. Ketamine is some kind of horse tranquilizer it's a tranquilizer for like heavy animals. I'm not a big drug guy, so I don't know a lot about drugs, but they literally put you in a coma deliberately to try to reboot your nervous system to get it to work right. That's like how serious CRPS is, and the type of treatments that were available for it. They might have other stuff going on, but hell, I'm not going to know that because my results were inconclusive. But another one of the treatments that they had that I refused to get, because you're not putting me in a coma just on the off chance that you can fix me, is something called a sympathectomy, where they just go into your spinal column and they just cut nerves and cut the sensation that's causing you all this pain and stuff. And I'm like, nope, not doing that to me either. So, yeah, those were like the options that I had. And I don't know what new options they have, or what drug therapies they have for it. I mean, I guess I should go to the Cleveland Clinic and try to make an appointment. I don't know if they would take my insurance and see what's available as far as CRPS. I mean, I just went to a guy in pain management that has experience with CRPS, but because the test is inconclusive, he won't treat me for it. So I don't know what that means now. I don't even know if like it's on my permanent record that I don't have CRPS for sure. So I might be fucked. I might not be even able to get an appointment at the Cleveland Clinic, or they might, that might be the way to go, is to go to the Cleveland Clinic. And, I haven't researched new treatments for it in a while. Maybe that's something I should do. Is I don't mind doing a little bit of research and research what they do for it now. And it's one of them diseases that can be knocked into remission and the symptoms can abate. And maybe that could happen for me if they tried that back when I had my. That's part of my naked thermography story. Is they shot me up along the nerve ganglion, whatever that word is I'm trying to say, but the clusters of nerves along the spinal column. They shot me up with Novocaine and lidocaine and got me higher and shit. And like I said, that must be what heroin is like, because I've never felt better in my life. And it didn't work. It's like you have to catch it early, and sometimes you can knock it into remission. But because of my nature of not being a demonstrative, emotional guy, and just saying, "Hey, man, something is not right here," they just all chalked it up to post-operative symptoms. I'm like, something is not right. It's like I got literally the first thing I said when I woke up in the ICU after my second and last spinal surgery is like, you people were supposed to operate on my back. What the fuck did you do to my legs? Because my legs were on fire. And that's what, burning neuropathic pain is one of the symptoms of CRPS. So that's when I contracted it. And it's a trauma-related ailment, and spinal surgery, especially spinal reconstruction, well, that would be classified as physical trauma. So yeah, this is of an epic length now of 1 hour and 31 minutes. But yeah, I could be dead tomorrow, so why not tell my story? I wish I could tell all of it and all of its beautiful grandeur, but I can't, out of respect for other people that are involved, and really out of respect for, not so much respect for them, but the acknowledgement that it might cause them shame. And when I'm not a liar, when I tell you I don't have a lot of shame, and that I'm a 51-year-old virgin here talking to you, I'll tell you what, I'll get a shitload of views, man. I'll put the 51-year-old virgin on this motherfucker, and I bet you I get a billion views and comments upon comments, on this. Because it had that movie, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, which is a bunch of bullshit, which I think I watched when I was 40 years old and a virgin, and I'm like, this is a bunch of bullshit. I was like, this guy would be smacking his dick all the fucking time, because in the movie, he just supplemented all his sexual desires into his weird little hobbies and toy collections and other stuff in the movie. And then I was like, yeah, that's not how that works. No. And he had never seen pornography before, and he's like 40 years old. It's like, yeah, this is what we call a fantasy. he's 40 years old and never experienced a woman, and he's never looked at pornography. It was a comedy to me. I mean, it was a comedy anyway, but it was especially funny to me because I was actually a 40-year-old virgin watching a movie called The 40-Year-Old Virgin, and I'm like, this is the biggest bunch of bullshit I ever saw in my life. And I love that movie. I think it's funny as hell. But yeah, it's bullshit. Yeah. But anyways, where to end? How would I end something like this? I don't know. I'm not good at endings. I'm good at the beginnings, and I'm good at the middle. The endings I don't know about. Luckily for me, I know how to do an ending on a book when I write a novel. Luckily for me. And the funny part about that shit is like, I can have all these videos, where I'm talking about some deep, deep shit. Spouting out that sage-like wisdom like a motherfucker on here. But now that everybody will know that I'm just a sweet, chaste little virgin, I know nothing about life just because I've never stuck my dick in a vagina. I have learned nothing about this experience called life. I will be invalidated in many people's eyes, fools' eyes, because this is just the way things turned out for me. And that's kind of funny to me. The things that I've been through and things that I've experienced, it's just funny to me. But I know how people are, and I know how foolish they are. They'll be like, what do you know? You never put a dick in a vagina. You never put your dick in another man's ass. What the fuck do you know about life? You know, what do you know about love? What do you know about women and relationships and uh, uh, um, psychic connections with people and all that stuff? Give, give me a break, man. I've been through shit you people can't even imagine, most of you. And if you can't imagine and you can't relate to the shit that I'm talking about right now, God bless you and God help you. Catharsis. Isn't catharsis a wonderful thing? But no, I'm not no liar. It's like when I say that I don't have a lot of shame, I don't have a lot of shame, and I don't really give a fuck what people think about me because you gotta understand the shit that I've been through, and you gotta understand, man, that a lot of people have been through the shit that I've been through. So I could give a flying fuck what anybody thinks about me or what anybody writes about my videos. The things that I care about the people that are going through the benzo nightmare and that have interesting things to say, that have insights to offer, encouragement to offer, and that are just basically being kind and not doing those two things. That's all I care about. I can give a shit about what anybody else says. I can care. Shit. I could be dead at any moment, you know. And as the last Algonquin will teach anyone that reads it with half a brain, your story is all you got. What you did, what you didn't do, the lives you affected. And I forget who said it, but someone said that that's how you can measure a man's life is by the amount of lives he's affected. But yeah, I thought it was important. Well, it's my 300-hour chip right now as far as Xanax. I still have like, I'm still like way, way ahead on the volume. I'm not taking very much of that. Um, I, it was important, I think, for me to admit that I lied about never taking one of those gabapentin again. You don't know what the future holds. I had to do some housework yesterday that fucked with my leg, and it hurt so bad. I was like, the hell with it. I'm not going to get any sleep. So I mixed Valium and I mixed gabapentin, and I got buzzed as fuck. And then it's like truth serum. I got on the phone with this guy, and then I was admitting the fact that, like, if they don't fix my leg, man, I ain't hanging around. And I'm not hanging around and just like being in a vegetative state where I can't use my mind because I got to be doped up all the time because of the amount of pain I'm in, or I got people wiping my ass and shit, like, because I'm that crippled up. It's like there's no sense in that. That doesn't make any sense, and I don't need no Dr. Kevorkian to take care of business. And I think that would be a shame. Hopefully it doesn't come to that, and I won't bail until that's the clear path where I'm headed. I'll keep trying. I'll keep trying to remain undefeated. And as bad as this leg hurts, and every morning I wake up and I'm like, ugh, and I take that first step out of bed on that leg, and the first thing I get to feel is a whole shitload of pain. And then I stumble around my house, and I'm wondering if I'm going to fall and crack my head open. And I probably should have a medic alert bracelet, but the guy in the wheelchair next door, he says his goes off all the time for no reason. Then when he falls down, it doesn't even go off. So I was like, well, to hell with that then. And anyways, facing all that, I'm still going to try to get that leg fixed, and I'm still going to, I still enjoy my mind. I still enjoy myself, and I still am at peace with myself. That's the main thing you want to be in life, is at peace with yourself and accepting of yourself. And I'm not talking to people that like murder people right now. Don't accept who you are if you like murder people. You're not. Don't do that, please. I'm talking about just your average Joe that may have a low opinion of themselves or may not give themselves credit for the person that they are. Or they have weaknesses like I have weaknesses. And I'm just talking about like accepting. One of my weaknesses is talking for an hour and 45 minutes at a time. And um, just accepting who you are and accepting the fact that, nobody is perfect. I accept the fact I wanted to be like some kind of master narrator of novels, and I am not that, you know. Um, I'm a pretty good writer. I can say that about myself. I'm a pretty good writer. Um, but I know for a damn fact that I'm not a great writer. And I don't, I haven't tried to write fiction for a very long time, even. I don't even know if I could do it in my crippled state because it takes a lot more to write than you think. Like when Stephen King got run over by that dude, and he couldn't write because you have to sit and you have to concentrate. And he said this is a guy that was writing since he was like at least 10 years old. That was just he was always a writer, always writing all the time. That if you listen to his semi-autobiography, which I recommend, called On Writing, um, he was just, that was what he was. That's just part of his being. And when he got all fucked up and got in all that pain, he actually said he didn't know if he would ever write again. Once you get in so much pain that you can't transport your mind into that other world, into that other place, into that other thing that you're creating, because the pain won't let you, then you can't do it anymore. But he ended up writing again, and God knows how many novels he's written since then. I'm trying to think of the first thing that he wrote. I can't think of the first story that he wrote. It wasn't very good, but it was the first story that he wrote after that guy ran him over and shattered his leg and busted his hip and just almost killed him. Um, why should I waste your time? I'm trying to think of it. You can look it up if you're that curious. But yeah, he ended up writing again. But I haven't tried, and I haven't really had the desire to write fiction. And for a while there, I actually did try to do it because I had this person that also was a writer that was interested in it. So I was like, well, we could collaborate. I have an unfinished novel I call The Sympathy Queen. And uh, we could finish it together. Like I said, you could even put your name on it. I don't know. I don't even care. And we like had a ship can only have one captain, and a house can only have one master. So you know, there's different directions you could go. It could only either be her book or it could be my book. It's like, so collaborating on a novel, I think, I don't think that works. I think it has to be the product of like one vision. So that kind of faded. She wrote some interesting things that I thought were pretty good actually. But she was like, well, I want the character to be like this. And I'm like, well, that doesn't really fit what I have already written. I mean, maybe you could start from scratch and write a collaborative novel. But yeah, that didn't work out. But I did try that, and I think that was like shit. It was right before I start. It was right before I went through withdrawal. I I went through a traumatic emotional thing, and then I was leaning on that person for support, and I let her read some things that I wrote, and she was like, "Well, that's interesting," and she was the one that suggested it. She was like, "Well, maybe we could do like a collaboration." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then we tried it, and um, I realized it wasn't gonna work. We would either have to start, you know, it's got to be the product of one person's vision, or it's like what if Picasso and Monet sat down and painted together, you know? It's just not gonna work, I've seen books like actually it was a terrible book. I think it's called Black House or something like that, but it was like a collaboration between Stephen King and Peter Straub, and I was like, ugh, this isn't a very good book at all. And I don't know how many actual collaborations, novels that I've ever read, but I read that one and it was not good. Uh, but anyways, yeah, I've never done that before. I'm just rambling to be rambling right now. So, uh, yeah, I don't. At this point, who cares? You know, like I said, I would tell my whole story. I'm not lying to you people. I would tell my whole story. I just can't do it out of respect for other people who have shame. Maybe shame where they don't need to have shame, where they didn't do anything that bad. And so yeah, I'll go ahead. I don't give a fuck, man. I will go ahead and I will label this the 51-year-old virgin just to see how many views I'll get. Maybe that'll like I know I'll get a whole shitload of views on that, man. Uh, I don't know. I wouldn't know how to fucking do that though. I'm not a tech guy. I'm an old man. I'm 51 years old. You know. I never really got into, even when I was using the computer to write, I was using it more like a word processor. I didn't even have the internet when I was writing my first novel in 1998. So I really don't know how to do that to get the views, but why the fuck not? Like, what the fuck difference does it make? I'm not ashamed of it, so what the hell do I care? You know, you can make fun of me if you want to. I don't care. I mean, most of my life is ridiculous anyway. It's how much, I don't know what, I wonder what percentage of my life I've actually shared on here during this whole ordeal of going through benzo withdrawal. But it has to be only like a percentage, like maybe 50%, 65%. I mean, I don't know what the percentage would be. You can do a lot of things in 51 years. And a lot of things can happen. A lot of odd things can happen if you're me at the age of 51. So I don't know. I wouldn't know if that would get a lot of views. Uh, but yeah, the idea amuses me. You got like 16-year-olds ashamed of being virgins and stuff, or saving themselves. You know, like someone that I know, it can be dangerous when you're young to do that kind of thing, unless you've gone through the type of stuff that I've gone through. Because your dick, when you're young, can convince you that you're in love, you know, and that this is the real thing, and you get rushed into marriages, you know, because that you're a virgin, and you know, especially like in certain religions that frown upon fornication and just have a bad opinion of any sex outside of marriage, and some sex within marriage, you know, force people to get married. So yeah, yeah, that can, that whole, you know, that whole thing about shame and people being ashamed of not having sex, like sex is some complicated thing to have. Slot A, tab B, that's about it. And if there's alcohol involved, it's pretty goddamn easy, in my experience, to get somebody to where it's an easy thing. So, um, yeah, I had nothing to be ashamed of. It's just due to my circumstance and my wanting it to be, wanting it to make up for past horrors, you know, wanting it to be the actual real thing. Um, that's just the way things worked out. It's just like I may be destined to die a chaste, innocent little lad. That just may be how it's in the cards for me. A priest, not by his own making, is what it is. Anyways, this is by far the longest video I have made and probably the most emotional, because I did not cry, but I messed it up. And you'll never probably see me cry. I just don't do that. Like I said, um, I literally didn't cry for 25 years until December 27th, 2017. I mean, literally did not cry for 25 years. And somewhere in that time, I cut my leg real bad, and I was bleeding and thought it was funny. But that physical stuff, that's one thing. The emotional stuff is what cuts. Those are the things that's the cut, not the cut in the leg or the physical problems, man. It's that emotional stuff that does the damage. But anyways, yeah, what the hell? Maybe maybe this will be the only video of the titled "The 51-Year-Old Virgin," but I'll just freaking title it that. I don't know if it'll get any views or how, if it'll enhance my views or you know or whatever. The last thing I want is to be famous. I don't do this to be famous. I do this because I enjoy talking. I don't do this for money. You'll never see any ads in any of my videos. If I was to develop some kind of following which would merit me having ads and trying to make money, I don't need your money. I don't want your money. You can keep your money. I want your ear. That's all. I don't want it like Van Gogh either. You can keep it on your goddamn head. Yeah. Uh, I don't know what to say. Like I said, goodbyes. I'm very good at the alphas and not too good at the omegas. So, um, yeah. There's really nothing to say, I guess. But yeah, I'll put this up and I don't care. I don't care. I don't care at all. Why should I care? Why should I be ashamed? Somebody should tell me why I should be ashamed that I don't bang impaired women or I don't pay for sex. By impaired, I mean like drunk and high and shit. I got another story where like I bought this woman some weed and we were getting to some point or another, and I don't know what I said, but I said something that she didn't like or whatever. And she got off my lap. I did have a boner that time. She got off my lap, and then uh, next thing I know, she not only took the bag of weed that I bought for her. I don't remember if I made her pay for it or not, but she actually stole all the roaches out of my ashtray from weed that she didn't even smoke. So she was just yeah, that was what you would call uh, a dodged bullet for sure. She was not a nice person. And yeah, but anyways, yeah, should I be ashamed of not taking advantage of certain situations, or uh, you know, people are so silly about the way I don't understand people. They're just so silly the way they think. I don't understand it. You know, like I can see down the road too far with a lot of women that I've met where I'm like, this could be fun for a while, but then what will it be? I remember one time they have an expression it's called like a ground ball. In other words, it's easy. But I had a ground ball thrown at me one night, and I don't know where that expression comes from. But anyways, I am walking home, and it's dark out, and this pretty black woman comes up to me, and she's got all her shit in a bag, and she's just got thrown out, and she got nowhere to go. And she makes it very clear to me, and I'm not going to go through the story because I'd have to use my memory, and this is already long enough. But she made it very clear to me, man, that she'd give up that ass for a place to stay. And I'm like, well, thinking to myself, well, could take her back to my house, but she's a stranger, and I don't know if I want her knowing where I live, and I don't know if I can get rid of her. I said that's a dangerous thing to do, and I said I could take her to a motel, but And I reached in my pocket, and I literally have $4. I'm like, that ain't happening. My ass is too poor for this ass. so, so, so I was like, it's like, honey, I really can't help you. I said, I wish I could, but here you can have this money. And I took all the money I had on me, which was exactly $4, and I gave it to her, and I wished her luck, and I walked on down the road. But she made it very clear, man, she had no place to go, that she'd give it up if if just for some place to stay. Wherever she was living, she just got freshly thrown out of. And I was walking home, and it was dark. And I just ran into her. And that's what we call in the business a ground ball. Man, that is a sure thing. You could also, think that, yeah, that's a sure thing that, she might, no, that was a sure thing. Trust me, that was a sure thing. Because if I took her to a motel room, she wasn't, I was a big, she wasn't a psychopath. She was just a desperate person, so she wouldn't have cut me or done anything evil to me. And she wasn't strong enough to rob me. And if she robbed me, I wouldn't give a fuck anyway, because I didn't have much to rob. I didn't even have the $25 required for the motel room in order to get this piece of ass that just came rolling my way. And I mean, that's not nice referring to her, but that's what she was that night, and that's what she made herself out to be. It's like, it's like, I need a place to stay, and I need it now. I don't know where I can go or what I can do. I just sent her on down the road. I said, that's all I can do for you. I said, that's all the money I got on me. And once she found out that I was a poor, that's all the money I got on me person, she was gone anyway. She knew I wasn't going to be no help to her. But yeah, many opportunities, many opportunities turned down. And she was good looking too. That's the thing. I was like, I wonder what she got thrown out over, or what this is all about. But she had like a very small bag, and I remember it was a clear bag with a white top to it with a white handle. And it was so dark out I couldn't see what was in the bag, and I wasn't looking what was in the bag anyway. But I could see her face because she was like right up in my face. She was making it clear that she was like, I'll treat you real nice, I think is what she said. And I was like, well, I was trying to, I can't think of the phrases involved she used, but there was a couple of them like that, like, I'll treat you real nice. Look at me dead in the eyes and give me the eye. And then she said something like, I was like, but you don't even really know me. And she said, we can fix that real quick. That's one of the things I remember she said. But anyways, can you imagine somebody just sitting here talking? You just watched a movie, man. You just watched a movie if you watched this whole thing. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at it and be amused by it. And I'm going to watch this movie, and then I'm going to put this movie on YouTube, and I'm going to title it The 51-Year-Old Virgin, because I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I am who I am. I own my own narrative. This is who I am. This is how things worked out. Maybe I'm a fool, but if I'm a fool, I'm a fool. That's just the way it is. Maybe I'm a wise man. Maybe I've avoided ugly, nasty divorces. Maybe I've avoided the burning bed type situations, or the Willie Nelson type situation where he got sewed up in a bed sheet and beat with a broom handle. Who knows? Am I a wise man? Am I a fool? That is for you to decide. So, no rolling credits to this movie. Just a heartfelt good wishes and a goodbye.